Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the most magical podcast in the Midwest. That's right, the Magic in the Midwest podcast, starring USA Today best-selling author J.B. Michaels and his more successful wife, Ashley Michaels. And now, your hosts. Hello, everybody, and this is JB. Welcome to the 95th episode of the Magic in the Midwest podcast. That's right, Ash, 95.
Whoa.
95. Do you think either of us are going to make it to 95?
Yeah, I will.
You'll make it to 95?
You won't.
Why not?
I don't know. I'll kill you.
Oh my gosh.
No, I don't know.
You heard it here, folks. Please call the police. Help me.
Call the hotline.
Call the hotline. Call the hotline. I've already got a death threat. We're only 55 seconds into the podcast. Fantastic. Yes, so ladies and gentlemen, please, the podcast is brought to you by the many works of J.B. Michaels. I believe there's 17 at this point. And be sure to check out book 5 of the Mac and Millie mystery series called Raftery's Ghost, which is on pre-order right now. And I will be at a special event on the 22nd of September for the Little Traveler's 100th birthday to do a big signing for Raftery's Ghost. Raftery's Ghost, which is a big premiere, big time release date for it. And but yeah, you could pre-order the book now if you want, if you're like the Kindle version or you're a digital version of the book. That comes out on September the 23rd. So lots of fun, exciting things happening in the weeks ahead in preparation for Raftery's Ghost, a Mac and Millie mystery, which I'm very excited about. So we'll share some reviews over the next few weeks, as in the beginning of the podcast, to get people pumped for it. But yes. Also, ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is also supported by our subscription model version, which is magicinthemidwestpodcast.bandcamp.com, where you can find lots of extra content for as little as $3 a month. It's pretty awesome. It's a cool way to get more content with JB and Ash talking about their favorite things about the Disney parks and Universal parks. And then, of course, through this podcast, which we have 95 episodes of, and then a bunch of other Bandcamp exclusives.
Whoa.
So we're like almost up to like 150 something, I think. Like if we were to count those, So it's a lot. But anyway, so right, that looks good. Anyway,
thank you.
Welcome to new listeners. I feel like we have lots of new listeners lately.
You think
so? We've had big spikes in downloads over the last few weeks, so that's great. Mm-hmm. So welcome,
it's
and
probably my
hopefully
boyfriend and his family.
Probably. Hopefully, you're enjoying the content, everyone. We love making these. Creating the podcast for you and talking about it. It's a blast for us. And we are, very excited because we have a couple of great, trips lined up in the future. Mm-hmm. And, if you want some great insider tips, tricks, and someone to help book everything for you, please reach out to
Emily over at Magical Mouse Travel. She is a vacation planner that specializes in Disney and Universal and Disney Cruise Line. But she can book all travel for you. And she is someone that we met through the podcast. We actually never met in person, but I'm hoping one day we will. She has become a great friend of ours, and she just does a lovely job. We've booked lots of trips through her, and she's just the best, super knowledgeable, and so super nice person. And like JB said, she can book all the things for you. And right now there's so much stuff to book when you're going on a Universal or Disney vacation. So please reach out to her. Her services come at no cost to you. It's kind of like a no-brainer. The best way to get a hold of her is via email, emily@magicalmousetravel.com. And if you do reach out, just let her know that JB and Ash sent you over.
Yes, that would be great. So thanks, Ash, for that wonderful endorsement
Thank you.
of Emily
Thank
at
you. I
Magical
am
Mouse
just
Travel.
super great at it.
You are really much better at it now that you've done it 8,000 times. Yeah.
No, I think I was always good at it.
Right.
Did I miss anything? No, Kosh. I mean, she'll do a lot of the things. She'll book the... Well, I mean, I don't know. Some people, like, when I say all the things, like, do people know what that means? Like, she can do pretty much anything that's required of your travel plans for you. So, and if you have questions on, like, dining that she would suggest, I mean, she has all of that stuff, and she goes there often. So, yeah, that's it. I'm gonna stop now.
Okay, good.
But she's great.
Yeah, she is. She really, really, really is. She's fantastic. Okay. Yeah. So, I gotta say, I've just before we started into our topic, I've been reading the Goosebumps books. I've never read those before.
Okay. Not usually for your demographic.
What?
A little bit older than I think their target audience.
I mean, I probably am.
Maybe like slightly.
Slightly. But I mean, I still can understand
I mean,
the book.
you look super young.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. My birthday is mañana, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's weird. It's a weird birthday. It's a weird one.
So 7-Eleven, we should go get Slurpees.
We should.
How come
Free
we never do
Slurps.
that?
Free
You
Slurps?
know who would love that?
Who? Yes, we
Our
should.
son
We
would
really,
love.
really should.
He loves slushies.
He does love slushes. So we are, so I'm reading through those, and the best one I've read so far is The Haunted Mask. I think it's definitely actually really creepy. It's really good.
Is that essential for this podcast?
It is.
We don't review Goosebumps.
I know, but I'm just saying, cool books.
Let's move on.
Cool books. I was just saying, just
No,
going through it.
I don't
Just
want
talking
you to
about,
just say.
some cool things. Some other
Should
exciting
I
things.
review like the new shampoo I used?
Yeah, how is it?
No, I don't have any new shampoo.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Well, if anyone has shampoo suggestions, I would be open to it. For
Yeah,
curly hair,
yeah.
specifically.
Also, if you're a fan of magic and mayhem, the Swedish Days Swindle book I was reading by J.B. Michaels, I went back through it and reading again. It's like, it's weird. Like, I just felt like, sometimes I feel like I can't, read my own stuff. Like, you just get
so
real
bad.
critical, and it's really bad. Yes. But I'm having fun. I'm
I
trying to
love that
remove
one.
myself from, you know what I mean, from like the
Well,
writer.
it's the book that you'd be drawn to read right now. Summertime.
Yeah, summertime.
sweeps.
Yeah.
It's
yes.
just great.
Yeah, it's a fun, very magic-oriented murder mystery book. It's really, so there's a lot. If you're a fan of like Potter and just magic in general, it's a fun one. It's a fun one. So Ash and I also love to return to the magic many times, right? We always go back to, this is why we have this podcast. But what's interesting about that is that even with us who are DVC members and have been there many times, there is always new magic to experience, or magic that's been there that we have yet to experience ourselves firsthand because of how vast the resort is, just how big it is and the different things you could do there. So, before we get into the main topic, Ash, like, we did do a lot of things we never did before this last trip. Like, we went to Liberty Tree Tavern. We never ate there. Mm-hmm. Didn't even really realize it was there. Like, to be honest, like, I remember seeing it sort of, but never went into it.
Yeah, we've never been into it. You did say that you wanted to go there, like, the last few times.
I did, because I was like, I've heard, I like, kind of looked deeper into like Liberty Square itself, and I was like, oh yeah, there is actually lots of other things to do. And we experienced Remy's, and we experienced we never experienced that before, Guardians. So there's always new things, and then stuff that you just never have done before. So that's one cool thing. In places we haven't stayed, So it's, you know, like Copper Creek. Last time, it was the very first time we stayed at Copper Creek, and it was a very different experience. It was a new experience.
It was.
You know,
I think, you know, when you, especially having the split stay this last time, you really realize that where you stay can make a huge impact on the feel of your trip. It can be a completely different
It
trip
really
depending
can.
on where you stay. You know, not just like the resort area, but the resort itself. So
Yeah.
it's definitely true.
well, I also feel like too, like I feel like here's another huge thing about when you're planning a trip and where you're staying. You kind of get like the rush of, you know, when your first couple days of vacation, you feel the rush of being on vacation. You know what I mean? Like, it feels good to be on vacation. I feel like that could be, you could ride that a while. You know what I mean? Because I think for us, we felt the rush of staying at Copper Creek because it was just so great, and you could tell your parents were absolutely in love with the Wilderness Lodge, because who isn't? You know, especially since they had never been, and that was the first time experiencing it. So, and for us, it was the first time experiencing Copper Creek, and I feel like it was just that rush, but then also just loving where we were. And it was just such a great spot. Like, we were really close to everything. The lobby, the pool, you know, the beverage stations, everything was just very close and really wonderful to be at. You know, so I feel like that does make a difference. Like, if you leave a place that you really loved, it's like you don't want to leave.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, listen, we stayed, then we went to the flagship, right? We went to Floridian, and it had a great time, but it was, like we talked about a couple podcasts ago, the feel of it was very different.
And that comes down to personal preference, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but we all sort of were taken with
Yeah.
the Wilderness Lodge, and so it was a little, you know, when we moved to this like stunning resort, we were kind of like, oh.
Well, it's weird. It's like, I mean, so even after all these years, Ash and I still have new experiences. Almost every time we go, there's always something that we hadn't done yet.
Well, actually, we've
You know.
stayed at Wilderness Lodge I've stayed there 2 other times. We've stayed there 2 times together. This was the 3rd time. And this was very different. We stayed in the actual lodge the first time around.
Yeah.
The second time we stayed at Boulder
Ridge.
And then this is Copper Creek, which is the DVC building that's in the building. It's like part of the main lodge. And so even staying in the same resort, totally different experience all 3 times, because Boulder Ridge is very different than Copper Creek and the
Yeah.
lodge.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet if we stayed there again, we may not get a room with the pool view. We may get a room that faces out, and that would feel different too.
Yeah.
It would feel quieter. It would feel less
Yeah.
like bustling. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
I really think what we had this last time was super ideal. And, you know, sometimes you get those rooms and sometimes you don't.
Right,
And
right.
they can all really impact your stay a lot.
Yeah. I mean, there was something about sitting out on the balcony with the Copper Creek right there, just like bubbling and just beautiful. It was just beautiful. It was just really,
I
really
loved it.
great.
I
Yeah.
would
So
move in.
yeah. So, you know, so there's just a lot of things and things about Disney that I think our membership, the DVC membership, does help us get like pretty much everything you can, you know, squeeze out of it. And you know, cool thing too is that we have another one lined up for next year, where now they've made the Top of the World Lounge at Bay Lake a villain's lair. So there's like villain pictures, portraits, desserts, you know, drinks, all dedicated to Disney villains up at the Top of the World Lounge.
Right.
That's
I feel
so
like that's
cool.
my house.
That's
I need to
so I mean, that is so neat. So that's a really cool refresh for Top of the World
Wait,
Lounge.
Pause. Who is your favorite Disney villain? You can think about it if you want to tell me at the end.
Oh, I
Just
mean,
curious.
the one that's the most fierce to me.
Just which one is your favorite? Doesn't have to
Oh,
be which
yeah, I
one's
don't
the
know.
most fierce.
Favorite, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
different
a
question.
different question, I guess.
Which is the one I asked. So don't make
I know, but I'm trying. Then, well, when you ask that, then I'm trying to get the criteria in my own head. Like, what would I like the most about which villain?
Jeez.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, but don't make it a different question. Can
Right.
you do anything?
Yes, lots of things.
Okay.
Yes. So anyway,
Answer the question. You can't? You're thinking?
End of
the
the podcast.
podcast.
We're going to come back
to it.
We're going to come back to it because, I mean, I love the villains, like, a lot. You know, I just like all of them. You know, there's a lot of really good ones.
You can tell me your top 3.
Yeah. I don't know if I can pick just one, you know.
Okay. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about.
So today we're going to talk about the big new attraction, the big e-ticket attraction over in Epcot, which is still a disaster. So as of July 10th, 2022, Future World is still in rough shape. As far as I know, things are getting better. It'll be done soonish. And listen, this is part of growing, part of changing. We all knew that Future World needed love, and they're giving it love, which I think is great. So you just have to kind of deal with all the construction. But, as of right now, the biggest new thing is over at the new World Discovery part of Epcot. That's the name of this section of the park. So the Universe of Energy was replaced by a new attraction called Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Okay, so it says, take off on an intergalactic chase through space and time with the Guardians of the Galaxy. You have to be 42 inches or taller to get on this attraction. It is a thrill ride, and it is in the dark. Mm-hmm. So... make sure that, and it does contain attraction photography. So just letting you know. All right, it says rock out on an intergalactic chase, an all-new attraction located at World Discovery, introducing a reverse launch coaster. Reverse launch. This family thrill attraction features the first ever reverse launch on a Disney coaster and is one of the largest fully enclosed coasters in the world. A new innovation from Walt Disney Imagineering. This coaster rotates 360 degrees so you can focus on the action. Okay, a world beyond belief. So, yeah, pretty cool. There's the big write-up on, Disney's page, the actual page for it on DisneyWorld.com is pretty cool. So we did go on it twice.
Yes, and I think we should preface by saying that this will be a spoiler-y review.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, spoiler review. Yeah, we're just gonna talk
about the whole
about
ride.
It.
So
talk freely. I feel like we're way late to the party on actually reviewing this.
And if you haven't been on it yet and you don't want to know, then skip,
but I don't know. You don't really have to skip.
No.
I mean, no.
If they don't want to know anything, then yes.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I mean, it's really...
No, I'm going to talk freely, so skip.
I'm going to talk freely. I'm just going to talk freely. All right, fine. Go ahead. Talk freely.
No.
What were you gonna say?
No, go on.
Okay, so we were. I thought you said you wanted to talk freely, and
I mean about the review. So throughout the rest of this podcast, I'm gonna say I'm not gonna hold back about the ride with certain things. So I'm just saying this is your warning. People do in reviews. They say stop listening if you don't want to know. But I'm saying that's the case here. So
okay. All right. So interesting enough. Okay, so. Here's an interesting thing, just to give you a little intro. We went on this twice. We did pay for a individual lightning lane to get on it, for sure, because we went all the way to Florida, and that's how they get you, right? So we were like, we better make sure that we go on this, because what else is there to do at Epcot? Not a whole lot. So we were like, okay, we're going to do that. So we did the individual lightning lane, got in the morning of the day that we went into Epcot, which was good. And then we were able to get on again the same day when they opened up the queue at 1 o'clock to try and get another virtual queue.
We were actually boarding Soarin', and you were...
I was boarding Soarin'.
Like putting our seatbelts on and thing.
And you could tell the Soarin' person was like kind of mad at me that I was looking at my phone and not like paying that much attention to her. But I did get...
1 o'clock, and we were trying to...
But I did get another one. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, the free virtual
queue. Yeah, the virtual queue one. So we got to not only go through the individual lightning lane and get in, much quicker, but we also went into the virtual queue, which was slower.
Honestly, it wasn't that much slower.
Wasn't that much slower, but
Maybe
it was
15 minutes.
right,
difference.
right. Well, actually, I liked that because we got to see more of the queue, but we'll go through that.
Although it's
soon.
not really that much to see, but okay.
Yeah. All right, there is, but you're an idiot.
No.
You're a moron. Okay.
Thank you.
So, no. So then so this I was confused with. Okay, so when the first was announced, they sort of dropped the original story for this. Like originally they announced that like there was going to be some sort of reason for Star-Lord to want to come to Epcot or something for like the Universe of Energy Pavilion, or like there's a new form of energy. And they just seemed to that whole angle seemed to got completely dropped.
Yeah, I think it was probably harder to accommodate that.
So
I know you really liked it, but I feel like when they probably got down to it, they were like, we don't really need to do that.
yeah, so
It's too much. Another layer they didn't need.
right. So so they didn't do that. But so I don't I don't know why, but they probably just like whatever. So now this is so we got in, and I guess we could just start talking now about. So basically, this is the pavilion is the Galaxarium, which is a alien building, from the planet the Nova Corps. So the Nova Corps has come to Earth and created this pavilion for Earthlings to come in and see the stuff, to experience Nova, right? The planet. And on the outside of the queue, you see a Nova Corps ship. But apparently, the Nova Corps ship is made from the old Universe of Energy Pavilion rides or something. Like something they did, and they reshaped it and made it into the ship outside the queue, which is cool. So there's a little bit of a homage to the old Universe of Energy for the people that care about Epcot. And history of Epcot. Oh. And so, all right, Ash, what did you think about the line queue for Guardians of the Galaxy?
So the line queue kind of reminds me of Test Track a little bit. Like, there's not a lot to it when you first walk in. It's just a lot of like glass railings, and there's some cool lighting in there.
Yeah.
But it's not like, not every line queue has to be like so amazing. I mean, I think it fits the ride very well.
Right.
It's cool in there. It's clean. It looks appropriate for what the ride is. And then as you walk through it more, you see like a few like displays and stuff where they show you a few things about, the ride, whatever.
Yeah, and Guardians, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like, I don't think the queue is like anything spectacular. Like I wouldn't name it in one of my favorite queues, but it kind of reminds me of Test Track a little bit.
Right. It's still, okay, so what's cool about it, is it's still Epcot. Mm-hmm. Like you still feel like you're at Epcot.
You do. It feels very Future World Epcot.
Yes.
In a good way.
Right. So you walk into, and there, when you walk in, the first big area is like almost like a planetarium type ceiling, mm-hmm. right? With the cosmos above you, a screen with the cosmos above you, and like ships going in and out and stuff like that. Which
I think you don't see if you do the lightning lane.
Right, you go right past that stuff.
It, yeah.
Yeah, the individual lightning lane is not there. So it's cool. And then you get into an area where there's like lots of glass cases with like models inside, and different things that explain things. And there's screens with the Guardians of the Galaxy, like different, like showcase a Guardian. And then there's some like outfits that they have on display as well. Mm-hmm. It's not, I mean, there's some funny like pre-show things that they do with the Guardians. And it's everybody. It's which is weird. It's funny. It's like Gamora is around, which is good. Because she's not around. now in the Marvel universe. Spoiler. But in case you didn't know,
I didn't know that.
now you know.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
you
did
do
know
know
that.
that.
It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
Right.
Don't get mad at me.
You're kind of dumbish, but
Thank you.
so no, but it's a cool queue. I mean, there is stuff to look at it, and then you get into an area where there's like a big open area where you kind of like where they used to have the pre-show for Ellen. Right, so there's an area where there's a screen. They kind of introduce you to where you're at, the Galaxarium. Glenn Close talks to you, and this is the Galaxarium. Blah blah blah. Welcome, everything, everybody, whatever. And you're like in a room. There's doors, so you're waiting for that one, and then you get through. Then those doors open and you get into another area.
Another room, which is like the second part of the pre-show.
Right. Second part of the pre-show where they start to, like Terry Crews comes on and he kind of explains, what's going on and how things are and what you should do. Just what to be, of course. And then, of course, something goes wrong, right? And since they're on Earth or something, and the Nova Corps is friends with the Guardians, they're like, call the Guardians. Something's happened, right? So a big Eternal, like this big, huge, celestial, like Titan, comes in and steals like this energy source, and of course, it causes havoc. And so what's really neat so basically, we're teleported up into space from this room. So, like, you're on Earth inside Epcot, and then the room that you're in changes.
Yes.
Like, it literally, like, through the use of, magic, right? The magic of Disney, it literally transports and changes into, like, a spaceship after you've been there, which I thought was really neat.
It is really cool.
Yeah, it's like everybody stand,
They have you face a certain way, and then, like, you kind of turn around, and you're like, everyone, both times was like, whoa.
Yeah, it's a neat...
It is cool.
It's a neat effect. So that was a neat thing. And remember, these are all elaborate ways to make the wait easier on people. Like be more entertaining. To have something going on, which is funny because at Hagrid's they just drop that. They just don't even care anymore. Because so many people go on the ride. They just they don't really do that anymore. So
well, and this is not a room where like you can kind of. Some pre-shows you kind of like flow in and out of where they'll move you out of earlier if the line's going. Like these are two closed off rooms, sort of like Flight of Passage where you go into one of the rooms and then something happens, then you move into another room and you stand there. Like that's what happens, except a lot more people. These are big rooms.
Yeah, they're very big. They could fit a lot of peeps. So yeah, I mean it was cool. Nova Corps. Xandar's the name of the planet that the Nova Corps live on. And so that we're transported up into space, and that's when everything starts going wrong, right? And then, of course, the Guardians the Guardians are actually, like, too far away to actually help that close, I guess. So Rocket, like, hacks into the ships that we're on, which are the ride vehicles, and is using us to go get the energy source back from this bad guy. So it was neat. It was neat. So yeah, I mean it's a really fun. I mean this is basically what it says. Just as you're about to reach the culmination of the tour, everything goes sideways. And you are called into action to help the Guardians of the Galaxy. Join Rocket, Groot, Gamora, and Star-Lord on an urgent mission where you'll rewind, rotate, and head towards the action through an exciting space pursuit. So pretty fun.
Yeah.
Hence the rewind. So because things are already happening, we've got to go back in time. Through the cosmos to get the energy source. Just a fun setup. And of course it's funny because Drax is funny, and Rocket's funny, and it's the Guardians and they're silly. And you kind of have, you feel like you're with them, and it's serious. Star-Lord's like, wait a minute, this is pretty serious. So it's a good time. And then of course after you leave the teleporter room, you're inside the space station, right? Or the ship. The Nova, the Xandarian ship, and you're in the ship, and it feels like a ship. Like it's very dark in there, and it feels like you're in the back of something. you know, and then like there is a weird. This is where the line really squeezes.
I was going to talk about this.
Yeah,
you know, there are certain lines at Disney that do this. This one does it the most in the shortest amount of space.
Yes.
It goes from this huge room of people to like this really like it almost feels like it takes forever just for that line to move because you're just standing in that crowd and there's people are just being squeezed into this tiny
Imagine
little
a
hallway.
6-lane highway turning into a 2-lane highway.
I mean maybe even
like,
more. It's like
it's
nuts.
insane.
And you know everyone like is trying to push forward and then they're all holding hands because their party has to stay together, which I get, but it was chaos both times.
It's a weird, definitely Disney, not a fan of that. Like, not a fan.
It was too short of a space to do it in, you know,
yes.
so you kind of stand there for a long time. And the other thing I wanted to note is you sort of go, once you kind of are down to the 2 lanes almost,
yes,
you kind of go over, like, it's almost like an overpass. Like, you can see, like, that lets you see the loading area of both sides. Because there's 2 sides that load. And what was I going to say? We noticed both times that there were empty trains that were running.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if we'll get to this later. I don't know if someone had gotten sick on those, but we noticed it both times.
Yeah.
They weren't loading every single train, but they were moving them.
I think
With such a long line, you would think,
my
why
guess,
wouldn't you be running them?
From what we hear, people get sick on this.
Yeah, but
often.
I mean, why wouldn't you pull that train off to the side? Why are you letting it run with like
maybe
vomit on it or something?
Operationally, they have to do something. They have to do it that way. I don't know. Like it's faster to do it that way than take it off. You know, I don't know. You know, but you know, who knows? Who knows? But it is so. Yeah.
I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it is noticeable.
You
You're
feel
kind of like, whoa.
you feel stressed by it.
Like you think about Rock and Roller Coaster, everyone's standing in that room and then they kind of walk out, but there's like 2 doors to walk out and it's not as wide going that narrow. This is like tons of people going into, so you just stand there and like inch forward every couple of seconds and people are trying to get like, you know, no one can
You can tell people
wait.
get crabby as hell in this hallway.
Yes.
Like you hear people get so annoyed.
And no one wants to wait. Everyone thinks they should push forward.
Yes.
And it's just like,
yeah.
oh my
people,
gosh.
like I heard this one woman just complaining the entire time about it.
It's like
and
it really doesn't take that long.
It
but
doesn't.
It's like it's the way that, you know, the psychology of it. Everyone just thinks that they don't want to be left off to the side, so they just push forward, and then they're like, "This is my group," and they like shove a whole bunch of people through.
I think it is
like,
the
oh,
psychology
gosh,
of the
okay.
line. Like, because you
Yes.
feel like after you're in this big pre-show and you teleport, that you're you're almost to the ride, and then you walk out, you're like, oh, it's a letdown. I think it's a letdown. Like you get out, and then it's like, oh, more line, a pretty substantial line.
And it's really not that far away. It just takes forever because you have to go through that like narrow hallway.
Yes.
I mean, not the end of the world, but it was, you know, both times we were around people that were just like being like
well, it's a
people,
weird.
It's like, oh my
it's
gosh.
like crabby. It's a crabby part of the line queue. It's like literally the line queue turns like you're excited, and then people get let down immediately. Like it's a weird thing. It's like a psychological. You're right, Ash. It's a psychological thing. Even I was like, oh man, like it's stressful to be like, oh, now we gotta go through this.
Well, and I think I don't know if it actually did, but you almost start to think that maybe one of the rides got shut down or something because you get to a certain point where it's just not moving.
Yeah.
It doesn't really seem like there's that much in front of you, and you're like, why is no one moving? And it's just because of the merging.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think the ride shut down either time we were on there, but we
No.
just stopped moving.
No.
You know, and you just feel like it shouldn't do that. But, and then you definitely have people that are not listening when you get further down and they tell you where
split
to go.
you.
They do
split
because
you.
it's such a popular ride. They're not like having everyone sit together. You know, like if your party gets split up between 2 trains, then it does.
Right.
You know, unless
right.
you have little kids or whatever, like smaller kids.
Yeah.
But people just don't listen.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
Yeah. So.
Anyways.
But yeah, you get on to the ride itself. Okay, and I don't know about you, but this is something I noticed right away. It smelled like a new car.
It did.
I don't know if like if they wherever they got the train vehicles from was an automobile factory or something, but it smelled like a new car, like the
Which
ride.
I like the smell.
Yeah, so I like the ride. I like that too. I was like, wow, this smells new. Like it smells like a new vehicle.
Yeah.
Like, which is weird. So we got into, the ride vehicles themselves are sort of like Spider-Man. Imagine
Kinda,
Spider-Man,
yeah.
Transformers.
But only 2x2.
Yeah, 2x2, very spacious. So like it's a lot of room there. And then so that was kind of neat. So that was cool. And then,
but I mean, when it pulls forward, it looks like a coaster.
Oh yeah, it's still a coaster.
It looks like a coaster.
Yeah.
You don't really.
But what's interesting is because that your car will move independently. You're on a train.
If you didn't know that,
right.
you wouldn't know
but it
it
will
by looking
swivel.
at it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It will swivel along the same train. So, which is really, really cool. All right, so you get on the ride, Rocket basically, you hear the Guardians bickering back and forth. You get on the ride, and then, you get closer, and then you turn around. Literally what's neat about it is that your car will swivel, okay, and then you just, reverse lunge. You go backwards, and there's a picture of me. The picture of me is my hair going forwards on my head. It's because you're going that fast backwards, and then and then you guys, it is one of the most unique experiences I've ever had. It's never been on a coaster like this.
No,
and it's wild. It's absolutely wild.
Yeah, the coaster going the rate that it's going. I mean, it's not going that fast, but it's going. It's not like Space Mountain. I feel like it goes faster than Space Mountain.
It does.
But that combined with the turning of the individual cars, and the vast screens around you. The screens around you are insane.
Yeah.
There's so much to look at that you probably can't see it all. There's every direction there's something to see.
Yeah.
And it's sort of crazy.
Yeah.
And as you've probably read, if you've read anything about it, I think that this coaster, and I could be wrong, will not have nearly as long of lines as Rise of Resistance, because a lot of people are getting sick on it.
Yes.
This is if you have motion sickness, I think this is a no, unless you
take
can take
some
Dramamine, and that definitely helps you.
Yes.
Because this is motion sickness to the extreme. I feel like it's not super wild. It's just it's very smooth. Maybe one of the smoothest coasters I've ever been on. Now that's typical for a new coaster. Hopefully it stays that smooth. But there are things where you're going, the train is going in circles, right? It's circling something like the planet
moon,
or something,
planet.
Or
first it's the Milky Way,
and then your car is turning independently, and it's not spinning fast. But the combination of the two, I don't get motion sickness at all. The only thing I can't do is teacups, continuous spinning like that.
Yeah.
It just makes me sick. But this wasn't like that. But it's almost because of the way the stars look and the screen, part of me started to sort of close one eye, and I did have to track the track.
Yeah.
That did help me a little bit. You know, I didn't start to feel sick, but I almost got nervous. There was so much happening that I was just getting nervous that I was going to feel that way.
It is sensory overload.
Yes.
It is. Because I'll be honest, I went on it twice.
Yeah, I wanted to go on it.
And
yeah.
I went on it twice, and I don't really know what happens, what's happening yet. I know we're
you're
on
almost
a chase.
too nervous to look around.
Right, we're on a chase, and I know we're chasing the bad guy, the big, huge, celestial being that stole the the energy source, and we're so I know that's happening, and the Guardians are kind of yapping the whole time, and it was funny, and then of course Conga. The first time we went on, it was Conga, Gloria Estefan. So you're jamming out. Now you have this awesome music.
I think that's the best song. Now, we haven't heard all of them. We heard that one in September.
Disco Inferno. No.
Oh,
Disco Inferno.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I thought Conga was way better. It was just more upbeat.
Yeah.
And it kind of made it more. And, JB has a history with that song.
Yeah, I love that song.
Crazy. So we loved that was the first one we got. I also want to go back and note one thing. The restraint is just a lap. It's like a lap bar, one of those bigger plasticky
Yeah.
look ones.
Yeah.
But it's one of those ones that has no give. So like if you press it down and you press it down a little too far, it's like too bad.
Yeah. So if
And,
you don't want
if
it
you
super
accidentally
tight.
lean on it, it gets even tighter. Like
Yeah.
there's no clicking. Like it just
Yeah.
goes down, and where you sit it is where it is.
Yeah, and the ride. So you got the ride. Okay, is incredible. Like, because it basically is like turning you to see things, But if you focus too much on the thing, that's when people are getting sick. So if you're focusing on the galaxy or the moon, so one time you circle the moon. If you keep your eye on the moon, then you start to get disoriented as you keep, because you're not supposed to look at it for too long.
Yeah, and I can't reiterate enough that all the rotating is very smooth. It's just the way it's combined with what you're looking at
Right.
that like promotes this sort of sickness in a lot of people.
Yeah. So like, but man, oh man, the ride itself is so fun. It's just like a joyous, like it is joyous. Like it's just joy. You just feel good.
Yeah, if you don't get motion
If
sickness,
you don't get- yeah.
this is awesome. The other thing I want to say, though, is that
Very smooth.
my parents went on it. We all went on it. Harrison, me, JB, my parents went on it. My mom gets motion sickness really easily, so she took a Dramamine before, and she was fine
Yeah.
on the ride. And she gets it sick from a lot. Like Flight of Passage bothers her, Star Tours can bother her a little bit. So that's saying something about the Dramamine, so
Yes.
that's promising.
Yes.
My dad, who never gets motion sickness.
Yeah, we were
at
not worried
all.
about him.
He
at all.
felt sick on the ride. Now, we did eat kind of a big breakfast. It was hot that day, and it was the first ride we did, and he feels like his lap bar was a little too tight.
Yeah.
So I would just, proceed with caution that maybe if you've, because, maybe he doesn't get motion sickness from like almost regular things, but this was so intense that it did bother him. So just heads up.
Yeah. Intense, not
Motion
not
sickness intense.
Yes, motion sickness intense. Because
Don't correct
I don't
me
want
ever.
you to give everybody.
Well, it's not
very
like, I don't
smooth.
know. I think Family Coaster is a stretch a little bit. I think it is.
Okay.
I think it's borderline. Like, I get what they mean.
It's
not
a thrill
like,
ride.
It's not like, some 200-foot drop or whatever.
Right,
but
right.
I don't know if I would describe it as a family coaster. I think family coaster, I think Seven Doors Mine Train. But, you have to take all the elements into consideration. It is in the dark. It does rotate. Like all those things make a difference in how it feels.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's on the cusp of being a family. I get what they mean, but
I have zero clue on how the ride is structured. I have no idea. Like I'm
even trying to like there are certain parts
idea.
that kind of stick in my brain, but like you just like can't take it in. Like you can't remember
It's
it.
too much.
After,
It's too much to take in.
You'd have to go on it several times
to start slowing
really
it down
start-
for yourself. Yeah. And there's also a cool part where like the bad guy, he's huge. The bad guy is like ginormous. Okay, and his head is just massive. And there's one time where you're like, he's like looking down at you, and you're like, he's right above you, and he's looking down at you, and he's trying to grab.
I'm sure
and
that there are
stuff.
parts that feel like you're moving faster, like because like the screen makes it look like you're moving. It's not just like Space Mountain where you can't really see anything in there,
Yeah.
but like the screen has like stars moving very quickly, and I'm sure that combined with the roller coaster moving in the other direction and rotating, like it just
It's so
feels
fun.
crazy.
It's so fun. It feels crazy. It
is
feels
super
wild,
fun.
and it's a very, very fun.
I mean, it's nothing like you're not being whipped around like Rock and Roller Coaster, or you're not.
No,
It's just I don't know how to explain it.
it's a really wonderful. It's very. I mean, as far as the impact, it's very low impact. Like
Yes,
I really
it's
don't like
all
the
up
reverse.
here.
The
Yeah.
reverse launch is
comfortable, actually.
comfortable, and then you spin and you're like bopping, and the music starts, and you're like, wow! Like you just get like goosebumps because you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
It's super amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you don't get sick at all, this is a great ride. I mean,
Yeah.
it's super fun.
Yeah. So I mean, it's gonna be. It's.
But for reference,
classic. Yeah.
the first time we went on it, my dad got sick, and we saw there was another lady like holding the wall.
Yes.
And there were a few other people sitting down, like sitting on the floor. And then the second time we got off, there was a couple in front of us that was a little bit older. I would say they were probably in their maybe 70s or older.
Yeah.
She looked like she was really sick. She had trouble walking, getting off of there. I saw one lady in the back lean over the garbage can at the end of the line.
Oh, yeah.
And then when we walked up the stairs, there were people sitting up there like with their head between their legs and stuff. From what I've read, like they've added more garbage cans to the end of the ride because people are throwing up so often on it. So I think they said the average is 1 to 2 people per train are getting.
That's insane.
Not necessarily vomiting, but maybe, or like having to sit there for a really long time.
I think people
so it's
just
kind of. I mean, it definitely is bothering a lot of people, and that's why I think there will never be, Rise of the Resistance isn't going to bother you in that way.
No.
And it appeals to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't think this line, I think they'll get rid of the virtual queue pretty quickly, because I think it just doesn't accommodate, it eliminates a lot of people.
It does. And the more it happens, the more, So definitely, it's an interesting...
I just hope they don't change it. I know that sounds mean, but I just think if you get sick from something like that, you either have to take something or you forego the ride.
Right.
Like, I don't think this should be...
No, I don't think they should,
like, I hate to be this person.
It's a great experience.
If not everything is meant for everyone.
Well, it is, but there are clear warnings.
Yes.
Like it says if you suffer from motion sickness, if you get motion sickness, don't come on. Or
if you can take something, but I mean, once you're on it, it's sort of like...
Right.
Now, the other thing you can do if you're on there is to basically
close your eyes.
Look around.
Right.
Well, I don't think closing your eyes always helps, but I think, like, tracking the track helps. When you watch the track and just focus on that and you don't look around, then you're kind of okay.
Or if you are looking around, don't focus. This is what I did. I didn't focus on anything for too long. Mm-hmm. Like, I looked at it and then I looked away. Like I was just enjoying
like
myself.
When we were circling the moon,
right?
I kind of looked at it and then I just sort of stopped.
I could totally see why people are getting sick looking at the moon rotating, and you're rotating around the moon itself, and you're going pretty fast around it. Like that's what's causing the sickness, and I get that because I almost, and then I was like, you know what? Because I heed our warnings, like definitely just don't focus on things for too long. I think that's the key. It's cool stuff to look at, but don't give yourself
I do
too
think
much.
It has the potential to bother almost anyone.
Yeah.
If you're doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're like trying to get, if you're turning your head.
Yeah,
if you're turning your head and then still moving away from it, you're going to feel weird. You're going to feel gross. It's going to disorient you. Just keep yourself.
Yeah, it's not so dark in there that you can't see the track either. You can.
Right. It's a blast. So don't.
I mean, super fun.
Yeah. So I mean, definitely an A+ in my book. It's amazing. It's a great.
I mean, very
ride.
well done ride. I think it's getting a lot of attention because people are getting sick, but I think that people just want to do it because it's new and they're probably thinking of it as like a screen, like Flight of Passage or whatever. It's a little bit, it's
a coaster
different because it's an actual
coaster,
right?
I mean, you're rocking and rolling. So, but fantastic ride, Ash. Fantastic.
Gosh, I loved it.
We'll have to talk about Remy's too next time.
I'll have to post the picture of us on the ride
yes,
because
where my hair is moving forwards.
The time of our lives.
Yeah, it's a blast. And the Conga was fantastic. There are 6 tracks. Conga and Disco Inferno is the ones we personally. Disco Inferno was fun, but it wasn't as fun as the beat of Conga, kind of rock it and roll it as you went. But people seem to love September too, but we didn't get that one yet. So, but what would you give it, Ash? 10 out of 10,
yeah.
A+? Yeah, me too. I mean, it's a classic. I think it's a classic. I highly recommend it to everyone. It's very smooth and it's very fun. It's worth the $3 buying some Dramamine. If you get sick, just do it. It's a blast.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that about wraps it up for the 95th episode of the Magic in the Midwest podcast. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is a win, and gives the JB and Ash seal of approval. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Stitcher, wherever you listen to the podcast, YouTube, like and subscribe. We love to hear what you guys have to say. So email us at magicinthemidwestpodcast@gmail.com. And, reach out if you have any questions. Also, Emily at Magical Mouse Travel, should you want to book a trip and experience Guardians for yourself. Emily is amazing. Please, call her, get some info. It's fantastic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, from the Midwest. See you later.